Moving into my 40s has absolutely been eye-opening. I now encounter new challenges that I had never experienced before with my overall health. In addition to my already ongoing digestion issues, I was now dealing with imbalanced hormones, sleepless nights, brain fog, and extreme, very random bloating. I had zero clue that all of these symptoms could actually be tied together, and that there was a product that already existed that could greatly relieve these symptoms. This is why you need to know about Hormone Harmony, Happy Mammoth's most loved and top-selling supplement. Hormone Harmony's ingredients have been shown to support hormonal balance, relieve symptoms of menopause, support cortisol, estrogen, and progesterone levels, promote healthy weight loss, and curb carb cravings, improve sleep quality, help with irritability, enhances the body's adaptation to stress, and supports mental function. I also love that Happy Mammoth supplements are made with the most potent natural ingredients from all over the world, combined with the most effective dose for maximum results. It is no wonder that in just under 6 years, Happy Mammoth has over 1 million satisfied customers and 25,000 positive reviews that also include many personal transformational stories. So what are you waiting for? For a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com with the code EWU at checkout. That's happymammoth.com with the code EWU. Previously on Ex-Wives Undercover.
I looked for depth of character. Apparently, my character meter was off with this one. We just started talking. He was funny. And I remember when I walked up, he just gave me the biggest hug. And I felt like I was home. I do believe in the paranormal. I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there. He had been doing the Dalton ghost tours. We became a couple pretty quickly. He came over one day and he said, I think we should just go ahead and move in together. We decided we would get married at the state park in front of the waterfall. The job losses started happening more frequently, and I was having to cover more and more of the bills. He's really sick. I'm pretty sure you're septic. We need to go to the ER. The smell is so bad, like you can't stand to be in the room with him. And when I called and said, hey, you're his only living relative since he never had any children, she said, yeah, he did. He has a daughter. And I said, no, those are his stepdaughters by this wife. And she's like, oh, no.
Welcome to Ex-Wives Undercover.
Liars, cheaters, and love cons.
I'm Amber.
And I'm Athena.
First, we told our story, and now we're sharing all of your craziest and most heart-wrenching stories of love gone wrong. Sometimes we laugh.
And sometimes we cry.
But more importantly,
we stand together. All right, girl. You ready to do this?
Let's do it.
The views, information, or opinions expressed on our show by our guests are solely the views of those individuals involved, and by no means represent absolute facts. Opinions expressed by the host and guests may change at any time. Our podcast and YouTube show may at times cover sensitive topics, including but not limited to suicide, abuse, violence. Listener and viewer discretion is advised. Season 6, Episode 2 of Lori's story, Ghosted.
Richard, how about you? When did ghost become an interest of yours?
It came to a point when I was a police officer.
New York City or New York?
I answered a call with a partner of mine to respond to some lights in a home that was supposedly abandoned. We arrived at the scene. We went into the house to get our weapons drawn because you don't know what you're going to run into. And he cleared to the left. I cleared to the right. As I'm going through the right, I come into what would probably be a dining room. Weapons up, or safety still on. Let's be safe about it. But safety's still on. And then this gentleman disappeared right before me.
A what?
And a gentleman
a gentleman. Okay, yeah.
Just appeared right before me. And, and it wouldn't matter what my weapon would have done anything against him anyway, because he disappeared as quick as he came. And that was an interesting report to fill out. But I took some heat for that from the guys in the locker room.
In case there was any denial by Richard regarding his statements that he claims to be a former NYPD officer, I thought it was best that I include that audio clip where he states it himself. With that said, let's dig into Richard's past and find out more regarding his ghost hunting. Now, there's a lot of controversy surrounding that statement. I personally called the police department
that he claims that he worked at. They have not heard of him ever. It's a tight-knit community, and the last name does not sound familiar. They did not recognize him whatsoever. I also went online, public records. I went everywhere to search. Could not find any evidence of him ever being a New York police officer. So, will you share with us the story that he gave you about his time on the force? And I mean, he even claims that he was injured, like a gunshot wound at one point, didn't he?
He sure did. So it wasn't just telling me. So anytime we would do these paranormal investigations with our people that had bought tickets, our customers had come. He claimed that he was a Breezy Point, New York police officer, and that he got a see the man call. And he said he went into the building and he turned a corner and an apparition appeared to him, and that there was not actually a person in the building at all, and it was an apparition. And that's what got him into the paranormal. That's when he realized he had abilities. And then he would talk about every time we went anywhere, he saw a police officer, he would talk about how he was a former New York cop. And he told me that he had responded to a domestic call, that a female was getting the living daylights beat out of her. That's not the vernaculars that he used. And that she was, I think, thrown against maybe the kitchen cabinets in the floor. And when he turned to face her, that she shot him in the hip with a shotgun, and that he got off of the force after that. And I even remember saying to him, well, shouldn't he be getting a check for that? Like, we need the money. It's one of the times I think when he was unemployed and I had begun to doubt things that he was telling me. And one of the reasons I was doubting is because my son, who was a police officer, said to me, Mom, when I talk cop lingo to him, he doesn't know what I'm talking about. He said, cop lingo doesn't change. He said, this is common language that we all know, and these are things that he should know, and he doesn't have a clue. He said, so I'm really doubting that he was a police officer. And so he told me that he did not get anything for his injury because it was too much paperwork and too much red tape for him to go through, which I didn't buy at the time. I was like, that doesn't make sense.
It's got to make sense to me, and it's not making sense. So when he says I was a cop, I decided to get out of that field because I got hurt, but it's too much red tape. So now I'm going to be a psychic medium, but I'm not going to get paid for that.
And I'm going to sell credit card processing, but it's not just that, y'all. He sold credit card processing. He managed a Kentucky Fried Chicken. He worked for Circuit City.
What?
He worked for Cardinal Health.
What?
Mhm.
What?
Yeah, there's
Hold
lots.
on.
Remember when I told you my girl said, if
What?
you listen, people will tell you who they are if you just listen? She heard, oh boy, can't keep a job. I heard, wow, he's had a lot of life experience. That's what I heard.
Oh.
I didn't see the red flag and I didn't hear, oh boy, can't keep a job.
And aside from hearing, you also did not see evidence of a wound, a gunshot wound.
None. So I had not seen it. He's big, there's folds,
Okay.
But
Did you walk
on the phone?
but I will tell you, and I know we're gonna get there. I'm sorry. I'm trying. I don't want to body shame anyone.
I not mean to either. I just was checking.
I have folds. I'm a fluffy girl. Sometimes you gotta
too.
lift and watch. It is what it is, ladies. So, and I have fewer folds than I used to. This has been a great weight loss program. While he was in the hospital, I went and I bathed him like daily or every other day. So while he was there, I intentionally looked,
There you go.
and asked, hey, where's that scar from your gunshot wound? So were you actually ever shot? And he admitted, no, I was not.
In addition to Lori, who now was fully aware that Richard was not the man that he had pretended to be, co-founder of the Haunted Travelers, JB is also starting to question Richard's character. And it wouldn't be long until JB would see for herself how shady Richard really was.
It said that we were going to go ahead and film for our own show. So we were going to do another webisode, and he was going to edit it, and he was going to take care of everything. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. And everything we shot just kind of disappeared. Just gone. There was never any episode. There was never anything. Then we started going to cons together as the Haunted Travelers. And by that time, I had already published 2 books. I was not just, J.B. Coates, the paranormal investigator. I was J.B. Coates, the author. It was about that time that I started seeing some of the jealousy. He helped with an excerpt for a book, and I think it was like 5 paragraphs. So he ordered a bunch of those books so that he could sell those books on top of me selling mine. And then he did things like taking donations for diabetes, and I don't even know what happened to that money. It wasn't a whole lot, but I don't know what happened to that money.
Oh my God. Was this the first red flag where you're like, this dude, there's something seriously wrong?
Now, let's get right back to the unraveling that's about to take place while Richard is in the hospital. Richard had finally admitted to Lori that he was never a police officer. So, with Richard on his honesty kick, Lori decided to confront her husband about a few other events that she believed he was lying about, which also included him having a biological daughter.
I start asking questions that I now know the truth to. He continues to boldface lie to my face. And I remember asking him, he's like, can we just talk about something positive? Can you change the subject? He didn't want to talk about all of the lies. He didn't want me to ask questions. So I said, you know what? Okay, let's change the subject. Do you have any regrets in life? He's like, what? No, why? Why would you even ask that? I go, well, I do have regrets in life. I said, I always wanted a girl and I could never have a daughter. Like I had 3 sons and then I gave up trying. My last delivery was really difficult. They almost lost me and Logan both. So I regret that I couldn't have a girl. And when my kids got pregnant and I found out it was a girl, I had really hoped that they would name her Kaylee Leanne, because that was what I wanted to name my girl, which my middle son was a twin and it was a girl, and that would have been her name, but I lost her in the 2nd trimester. So, I had hoped they might do that, but they didn't, and that's okay. And I said that to him. And I said, this is what I wanted to name her. I said, do you regret that you weren't ever able to have biological children? No, not at all. I said, I got to raise 3 stepkids. It's great. He raised more than 3. He raised more than 3, y'all. I'm like, well, if you had been able to have a kid, if you'd had a daughter, did you ever think about what you would have named her? And I remember him snapping his head around and looking at me, and he says, what kind of game are you playing? I'm not playing a game. I'm just trying to talk to you here, It was about time for the what was good for the goose needed to be good for the gander. And I said, I think that, and Brittany and Tiffany would be great names, except that I used the ex-wife and the daughter's name. And he knew in that moment that the cat was out of the bag and that I knew.
And when the floodgates of truth began to spill out, Lori would uncover a whole lot more, dating all the way back to the first few months they began dating.
I just started asking questions, and I remember asking him what really happened, because I had driven by the duplex and I knew it was still there. And he finally admitted I couldn't pay the rent and I was evicted. He said I was facing eviction and I needed a place to live. Now, y'all, had he said that, I still would have probably let him move in, maybe, because I wouldn't have wanted to see him homeless. But yeah, that was just one of the many lies. He lied and said that they were selling the duplex and he had 2 weeks. And my landlord even tried to tell me, it doesn't work that way. They have to give him at least 30 days. And I remember telling her, well, I don't know if he's had 30 days and it's now that he only has 2 weeks left. And I should have taken a moment then to look into that more, but I couldn't see that then. I can see that now that I'm on the other side of it.
So much easier, right? When you're on the other side, on the outside.
I remember telling him, you have lied to me for the last time. And I took my cell phone. It was on my plan. I paid for it. I gathered up all of the things, and I left. And I told him, goodbye, we're done. And then I went through his phone, my phone, when I got it home, and I found where he had been telling people that I was mentally ill, that I was crazy, that I was bipolar. So I reached out to see, and I was like, all of these are lies. Like, He's not who you think that he is. And then she started shaming me and guilting me for leaving him at the hospital, for taking his phone, and then proceeds to tell me that as much as she dislikes her ex-husband, that even if he was in the hospital and needed her, she would go take care of him. And then I start feeling convicted and guilty that I have left him.
While feeling emotionally overwhelmed with all of this, Lori was not sure how to proceed. Well, that is until she stumbles upon another lie having to do with her husband, Richard Ruland.
We got a letter in the mail from the landlord stating that they had not received the money orders that we had sent for rent. So I had actually reached out to Richard and said, hey, my pay went in the bank. He wasn't working. Go to Walmart or go to the bank, get cash, go meet the landlord and pay them, which he refused to do. He insisted they wouldn't give a receipt, all these kinds of things. Now he's communicating with them. So I figured he's telling me the truth. He wasn't. Recently found that out when I went and paid the rent in cash and she handed me a receipt. And I said to her, Richard said you don't give receipts. And she's like, what? By law, we have to. I'm like, nice. So anyway, the letter comes and he's like, well, they never got the money orders. And then the landlord's messaging me saying, hey, I didn't get the rent. Have you mailed the rent? So we were having trouble with mail delivery at that time, and it was running really behind. We were having a lot of problems with the local post office. We check, money orders still haven't come. So he tells me that he goes on Western Union and he files to get a refund on the money orders. He showed me paperwork from it. Now, I don't know if that was actual paperwork or if he falsified that. I still don't have that answer, and I will probably never have that answer. But so the rent's got to be paid. We're getting ready to have to go to court. There's $500 and some odd in court fees associated with it, almost $600. So I call a family member and say, hey, this is going on. Is there any way you could front me? Go ahead and pay this, and as soon as I get the refund for the money orders, we'll send it right back. Richard is sitting there for this conversation. He knows, he's aware that when the money comes back, this family member has to be repaid. So they never come. He tells me he's called. My family member did pay the rent, sent a little extra with it to kind of help cover the court costs. They still never come. And I keep asking him, hey, and he's like, well, I called them. They haven't cashed. We have to wait for this many days. I think it was 30 days. And then I can file again and they'll replace them. He's like, but every time I do it, they're going to take a fee out of it. I'm like, well, that's not right. They shouldn't be charging us. We can't control the mail. So he tells me he's refiled, doesn't show me any new paperwork. The money orders don't come. So finally one day I just confront him and I'm like, have we seen the money orders? And he's like, no. So I got suspicious. I went digging around in my car that he was driving and I found a bank statement and a folded up debit card for an account that I didn't know anything about on the same bank that we used. He had gone into the shower, so I snagged up the phone, opened up the thing. Lo and behold, the amount of the money orders had been deposited into his personal bank account that I knew nothing about. Richard, I am recording. I took $2,000 and some odd out of my paycheck to pay our rent here. Did you purchase money orders with the money from my paycheck for the rent?
Yep, sure did.
Okay. Then what happened to those money orders?
They get lost in the mail.
So did you file to get that money back so that we could pay our rent?
Yes, I did.
When the money orders came, whose name were they in?
Mine.
And what did you do with the money?
Put them in my account.
Did you give Lori Ruland the money? Did you return the money?
No.
Do you understand that this is stealing?
No, it's not. Not by the law. Came in my name.
No, Richard.
Possession's 9/10.
Possession is not 9/10 of the law. You just admitted it came out of my paycheck. You just admitted that you knew that the money was supposed to go to... Did you steal that money? Did you know the money did not belong to you, Richard?
At the end of the game, yeah, the money did not belong to me.
And not only was Richard Ruland shady in his personal life with his expenses, he was just as shady in his business life. Here's what JB had to say about it.
A friend of mine, he wanted to start a paranormal event company, and I was all for it. So with Richard and I being in two regions of Tennessee, there was a very big problem with us getting together to do these events. I'm in Middle Tennessee and he was all the way over towards Georgia. So I called this guy and I was like, hey, you know, what would you think about hosting the Haunted Travelers for, you know, paranormal events? Maybe it'll bring a bigger draw, you know. And he said, yeah, you know, I'll do that for you. And we were supposed to split it 50. We get 50% of the ticket costs, and he gets the other 50%. And it was supposed to work out. And when I told Richard, Richard was like, well, you can't do this by yourself. And I was like, well, yeah. I was like, this is for the Haunted Travelers. And he was like, well, I'll call him and I'll talk to him. I got to send him the contract and everything. And I said, okay. The events that they set up, Richard was like, well, you know, you have to provide me with a hotel. I'm not driving all the way over there to drive back. It's just too much. I can't. Now, mind you, I drove and I drove back that night, but Richard just couldn't do that. He had to have a hotel. We got to this event and I don't know, something told me that I just really needed to have my check cut away. So it wasn't a Haunted Travelers check. It needed to be a JB Coates check and a Richard Rulin check. I needed it to be separate. Was telling the promoter about it and he seemed really stressed. The promoter looked at me and he was like, look, JB, the check that I'm writing is for $600. He wrote the check to Richard and then he left. Later that night, Richard called me into one of the rooms and he's like, man, we got screwed over. I said, well, what do you mean? He was like, he didn't even pay us half of what we're supposed to be paid. He said, well, how much did we get paid? I was like, what, 200? He's like, yeah. He says 200. Which means if he split that with me, I would only get $100. So I pulled out my phone and I was like, no, I'm calling him right now. I was like, he said this check was supposed to be for $600, right? And he stops me and he was like, he told you that? And I was like, yeah. He was like, wait. I didn't actually look at the check. Let me get in my wallet. And so he pulls out the check and he was like, yeah, it's 600.
My God.
Yeah.
I mean, hello. How do you say I didn't look at the check and then turn around and say you got lowballed?
Right.
What?
Right.
You got to make that make sense.
And I'm not a big dummy, right? The last event was his downfall. And I just did not even remotely feel bad about it. We go to a week before this Halloween event. He calls me and he says, JB, we're not going to make any money on this event. He's like, with credit card costs, we are not going to make any money on this. I'm so sorry, he said. He's lying. Now, this event is supposed to be from 5 in the evening till 5 in the morning. Okay. It's a 12-hour event. He says, you don't have to come until 8 or 9 o'clock. He's like, everything's going to be, we're just checking people in. It'll be fine. What he was doing was making sure that I didn't know how many people were actually there because he's checking in all the people. So I get there at 8 o'clock. When I get there at 8 o'clock, there are people everywhere. They're like running around, people with no idea how to do the paranormal, first timers. They're just lost, just walking around in the dark. They have no idea what to do or where to go or, you know, how to do this. And so I'm like, where's Richard? And one of the volunteers was like, well, I don't know. He just kind of disappeared. So I was like, okay, look, you guys start making groups and helping these people so that they know what's going on. We don't want the hospital to get a bad rep because Richard ruined this event. Right? Because I work at the hospital often. I go to find Richard. Well, I find him and his girlfriend in the pharmacy waiting room, just the two of them. They don't care. So I was like, hey, so I'm here. He's like, great. So I got my own group and we started. As I'm doing my thing in the emergency room, I see Richard and his girlfriend walk out. They left at 10 o'clock at night. I had to be there till 5 o'clock in the morning and still drive 2.5 hours back home. He just left.
Did he pay you anything?
Nothing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, not a dime.
As Lori calls Richard out on his scheming, lying, and fraudulent behavior, Richard's physical aggression towards Lori begins to escalate.
Prior to that, there was one time that he got physical with me before that. He was screaming. He was kind of out of control. He was threatening to break things in the house. So I went into the walk-in closet in the master bedroom to try to like get some things, and I was going to leave. I'm like, I got to go. Well, he shoves me further into the closet. He would not let me out of the closet. He is like pushing me against the wall and choking me. I can't get away from him. So I start to fight back. My son was at work. I knew I had to get out. As he was choking me, I remember getting my head twisted just enough so that I could bite him. And as I bit him, he let go, and I remember snatching his hair and like jerking so I could get past him. And I remember afterwards, he apologizes and everything, and he's like, wow, you're a lot stronger than I thought you were. And I thought, okay, he really was sincere. Tempers were high. It's never okay.
Please note that we understand that the following audio may be a trigger for some. Listener discretion is advised.
I am sorry that you put me in a position where I had to defend myself. Yes, I'm sorry that I bit you in self-defense. You were shoving me in the closet. You were hurting my legs.
Yeah, now you're defending yourself. You're not apologizing.
I am apologizing.
You're
Are you
giving
listening?
excuses for why you didn't.
No, I'm not. Were you or were you not shoving me in the closet? Okay.
And I'm shoving me back.
No, I wasn't. I was asking you to get off of me, was I not?
Okay, come on.
Did I or did I not ask you to get off?
Give.
Did I or did I ask not? Did I ask you to get off of me? Okay.
You did. Come on.
So, in self-defense, I reacted.
Okay.
True or false?
Yeah. Come to the details of what you're
I am, but was it in self-defense? Were you shoving me in the closet, and did I tell you you were hurting me?
I was extraordinarily hurting you, yes.
Okay.
Now, come on.
I am sorry that I bit you. I am sorry that I pulled your hair, and I am sorry that I need you in the balls.
Now, stop.
Genetics can be beautiful. Maybe you got your mom's eyes or her great skin, but genetics can also be a nightmare. We've all done it, right? Complain about the inherited belly or the love handles. Well, don't let genetics be the thing that holds you back from getting the body you deserve. You need to check out Permanent Solutions by Sonobello. I'm not going to lie, my best friend actually used Sonobello after she had a baby, and let me tell you, her results were incredible. Our friends at Sonobello are offering you the best deal. You are now included in their winter savings event, but appointments are limited, so please get on it. Sonobello doctors are masters in micro-laser fat removal, which is a brilliant technique that removes stubborn fat permanently. So wherever you have problem areas like your tummy, love handles, thighs, arms, it's gone in just one comfortable visit. So eating healthy and workouts are great. Keep doing that. But if you want to lose that stubborn fat in one visit, check out Sonobello. Save big during their winter savings event. Schedule your free consultation now at sonobello.com/EWU. That's sonobello.com/EWU. My hair has always been my calling card, long, thick, and shiny. But I've noticed as I age that it's definitely lost its luster and has started to thin out a bit. My sister's actually been telling me about Nutrafol for a while, and so when I had this opportunity to try it out, I immediately jumped on it. You should love your hair, but that can be hard to do if you're dealing with shedding or thinning. Luckily, Nutrafol is here to help. Their whole body approach to hair health works from the inside out, so you can start loving your hair again. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. See thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. Everyone's root causes of hair thinning are different, so a one-size-fits-all approach to hair growth just doesn't cut it. Nutrafol has multiple formulas that are tailored to give your hair what it needs to grow throughout different stages, such as postpartum and menopause, as well as for different lifestyles such as plant-based diets. While many supplements rely solely on ingredient studies, Nutrafol clinically tests final formulations to ensure their efficacy. In a clinical study, 86% of women reported improved hair growth after taking Nutrafol Women Hair Growth Supplement for 6 months. Start your hair growth journey with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code EWU. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com with promo code EWU. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code EWU.
I am super excited to talk about my new favorite go-to fitness item. I love it so much that I have not taken off my Amazfit fitness tracking smartwatch since it arrived about a week ago. And thanks to Zepp Health, the creators of Amazfit, this beautifully designed smart wearable stays charged for an average of 10 days. Customers are drawn to Amazfit because it goes beyond basic fitness tracking. Amazfit redefines smart fitness with AI-driven coaching, intelligent workout detection, and personalized recovery insights to help users train smarter. Powered by the free Zep app, it delivers in-depth analytics, downloadable maps, and ZepFlow AI voice control, creating a seamless, next-level fitness experience. Another reason that I love my Active 2 smartwatch is that it also includes an advanced heart rate and sleep monitor powered by BioTracker technologies. And because of the 10-day battery life, I finally get accurate results because I'm not needing to remove it at night to charge it. If you are ready to take control of your health and fitness journey, head on over to www.amazfit.com/EWU and receive 10% off your order. That's www.amazfit.com/EWU and receive 10% off your order today.
Are you really sorry? Because it don't sound
I said I'm
sincere.
sorry. I said I'm sorry, and I meant what I said. I should not have been put in a position to where that had to happen, Richard.
Well, we shouldn't be putting any of these.
But you should not have put me in that position at all. You look how much more you weigh than I do. Look how much bigger than you are than I am.
None of that matters to you.
Yes, it does, Richard.
None of that matters.
Have I been in abusive relationships before, Richard?
Not with
Where
me.
I've been hit? Where I've been hit?
Did I hit you? Did I
Stop.
punch you?
Have I or have I not?
Yeah,
Yes
you
or no?
have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you were shoving me and up against me in the closet, and I told you you were hurting me, and I told you
Also,
to get
you
off
need
of
to
me.
apologize for choking
Stop.
me as well.
I didn't choke you.
You did.
No, I
told you
didn't.
did.
My arm was holding on to the shelf to protect myself, and you were shoving in, and your throat was on my arm. True or false?
Right.
True or false? When you quit shoving, did it
It's
stop
true.
choking
I
you?
really thought you could be sincere. But
I am being sincere, but I want the truth out of you. Were you or were you not shoving in that closet against me then?
Yup.
Okay, when you stopped shoving me, then it no longer choked you, correct? Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And that's.
Oh my God. Good for you for doing everything you could to get away from
My
him.
only regret in any of that is that I did not call the law then. I did not have him arrested. But we talked about the threats that he made against my job.
Right.
And I was over a barrel. And not to mention, he had me convinced that I could not make it financially on my own. But I had been doing it for over a year because he hadn't been working, wouldn't hold a job. But I let him get in my head. The mental abuse, the emotional abuse, the financial abuse, and then it became physical. He would start screaming at me, or we would be driving down the road and he would be angry at me. We would have words about something, or it would be something as simple as he would ask me where I wanted to eat. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't care. Well, do you want XYZ? Well, no, that really doesn't sound good, but just pick something. I'll find something to eat. And then he would start telling me how I was a spoiled brat, or how I was a food snob, or how I was bougie because I couldn't decide on what I wanted to eat. And he would tell me how he never has that problem. And I'm like, I don't know what sounds good. So then he would start driving erratically. And he would say, you know what, I'll just kill us both. And to the point to where I still have anxiety riding in a car. I get really nervous, especially if traffic is heavy, because anytime I would disagree with him in the car, he would start driving erratically, and it was terrifying. There was one time that I screamed at him to pull over, and when he did, I actually got out of the car and started walking because I was so scared. There was another time we had been to my son's house over in Alabama, and we were driving back, and he was driving crazy and he wouldn't pull over. And I literally my arm was in a sling. This was before surgery, but the doctor had immobilized it, and he was flying, and I forced the door open. As we went past, there was like a body shop down over the hill, and I was screaming, please help me, call the police. I need help, like screaming out the door, trying to get, and like they turned and looked. If they called the police, they never found the vehicle, and I didn't get the help that I needed. But I was absolutely terrified. After my surgery, it escalated badly.
I think that you kind of brought up a good point. Is I think that a lot of people are scared to call law enforcement when things get violent like that, because again, it's like financial abuse, and like as far as the emotional abuse, it's just as horrible. But like, what are you going to tell the police officer? Like, what are they going to do? I don't know that there's laws that are like, oh, he called you a name. He drove fast with you in the car. Like, I don't even know if there's any laws that say, you know what I mean, to
Right. And
get
in
justice.
Georgia, my understanding of the law in Georgia is that if the police come out, both people go to jail,
Right.
which
I've
with
heard that.
my job, you can't. So,
Right.
like, I
Yeah.
was between a rock and a hard place. But then once he's gone, even though I have all these text messages, these emails, because they're like, well, it's been so long, the judge won't sign off on anything, or because it happened in the other county, or because he moved, you can't get the help. And there is no protection against narcissistic abuse at all.
Yeah, and when you're still emotionally tied to someone, there's a little part of you that still wants to protect them. Like, I don't want to get them in that much trouble. Like where they have, a file with the police officer, you're still stuck in that abuse cycle. And so you're kind of protecting them. Like, I know I should do this, but I'm not going to because I don't want
Yeah.
to give them a record. Because I
Right. Well,
remember
and
doing
not
that.
only
Like, oh
that,
gosh.
yeah, not only that, but he kept apologizing. He was so sorry it wouldn't happen again. I even have a text message, which Athena, I think I also sent it to you, where he
Mhm.
apologizes and tells me I don't deserve to be abused. And that had to be between the closet incident and my surgery, maybe. And he apologizes and tells me I don't deserve that and all of these things. And then that's exactly what he goes right back to doing. Well, then it was like, oh, I'll go, but I'll cancel your car insurance. Or I'll go, but I'm turning off the utilities. So then, I'm between a rock and a hard place. What am I going to do? I even have in writing when the argument would blow up, when I would say, you've got to get a job. Like, are you seriously, you've been fired again? Or he would say, oh, well, they didn't make payroll. And I'm like, did they not make payroll or did you get fired again? Like, either you've got to get a job and keep a job or you have to go.
Here is what Logan had to say.
He lost his job and hid it. That's when my mom kind of lost it on him. And she is completely in her right to be that angry because she did not make enough money to pay the rent on her own. I was working at Arby's. That's when I started noticing the constant back and forth fighting almost daily.
Did your son see all of this behavior? Was it very obvious?
Usually what Richard would do is he would start it at bedtime or right before bedtime after Logan. He'd already taken Logan to work. And then Logan would come in and go to bed, or Logan wouldn't be home yet because I would have to get up so early to go to work because I would get up between 4:30 and 5. Logan, sometimes he gets off at 1 or 2 in the morning. Sometimes it's not till 7 in the morning. And so he would start back in the next morning. So if, an example, he would start an argument before bedtime. And then I would be so shaken up that I couldn't sleep. He would put on his sleep apnea mask. He's gone immediately. I'm still over here crying, shaking. My anxiety's through the roof. And then the next morning when we get up, I'm not speaking to him. Then he starts over because I'm not talking to him. What's wrong with you? Why are you in a mood?
Yeah.
What did I do now? Those kinds of things. And it was just, I'm still reeling from the night before.
Yeah, which is exhausting.
It is exhausting. I was like, I've got to find a way out. But then when he filed went and saw an attorney about the medical lawsuit, and he told me that he definitely had a settlement coming, that it would be coming by the end of this year. All of these things. In my mind, my thought was, I've got to hold out until he gets the settlement, recoup my retirement, recoup my credit cards that he's maxed out, because even the shoes he currently has on his feet are on my credit card and he didn't pay for them. All my cards maxed out. So I was trying to keep the peace, trying to bide my time to recoup my money. But even before I went on my trip, I had put a post out on social media that I was looking for a 2-bedroom house. And he had asked me, are we moving? And I said, no, Logan and I are going to move. And I told him, when you get your lawsuit money, like, I'm gone. We're going to go our separate ways. I tried to play his game of, yeah, we'll buy a house. Yeah, we can get vehicles. But in my mind, I was trying to make an exit strategy.
So I, Richard Rulon of Sound Mind and Body, are hereby saying to Lori, Gordy Rulon, that when the settlement comes through from the attorney in the case against all of the case that I will pay off the cars and the loan to World Finance, and then the proceeds will be split at 50-50. That is my solemn word.
So fast forward to July, I have the surgery. I have no use of my right arm. It is immobilized. And I am right-hand dominant. And so he does arrange for me to have a recliner because they said I would have to sleep in the recliner. We put the recliner in the bedroom between the bed and the wall because I'm afraid he won't hear me. He has sleep apnea, and I'm like, he won't hear me at night if I need him. The recliner, of course, the release is on the right, so I can't get myself up or down. I am now at his mercy. Once I go in that chair, I can't get up. I can't go to the bathroom. I can't do anything unless Richard is there. I can't even get up to get my medication because there's no place to set it that I can reach it because I'm literally in a space, just wide enough for the recliner. He begins yelling at me. He starts intimidating me. He'd get mad because he had to get up in the night and get my medicine. And he would get up on the recliner and lean over into my face. Ladies, I'm literally pushing back as far as I can go to the point that I'm afraid the chair is going to flip over backwards because he is on top of me. If I have my phone and once I was able to use my hand a little bit. So an example, if I was holding my phone in this hand, he would intentionally jerk as hard as he could and move that arm. I had a TENS unit the day after surgery. I was in a lot of pain. I needed to use the TENS unit. They had put the probes on during surgery. So he puts the pieces to the TENS unit in, and he kind of gets back behind me to where I can't see him. And they told him, do not go above 3. He turns it to 1. He's like, it's on 1. I'm like, I don't feel anything. Are you sure it's on? He's like, yeah, it's on. I'm like, I should feel something. He's like, no, I'm like, are you sure it's working? He's like, no, it's on. I said, well, turn it up 1 more. So he turns it up to 2. I'm like, I don't feel anything. And I'm like, let's go to 3, but I'm really scared to do this. So he turns it to 3. I'm like, no. He's like, well, hold on. Ladies, the next thing I know, I felt like lightning had gone through my entire body. He had turned it all the way up. He had never connected it to the TENS unit. So he turns it way up. They told him not to go above 3, and then he clicks down. So I thought I had been tased, electrocuted, to the point that I am screaming and writhing in pain. He finally turns it off. I literally cry for the next hour, begging him to call the doctor.
Oh my God.
He calls the doctor, and as soon as the doctor calls back, the first thing he says is, yeah, my wife wanted me to call you. The TENS unit was turned up too high, and she thinks I did it on purpose. You just told on yourself because you did. You did.
Yeah. He's an idiot.
Yeah.
The doctor probably thought he was a dumbass for even just the way he said it, like a little kid.
Right.
So strange.
It was so painful. And he didn't even apologize. He's like,
you could have stopped your heart.
On purpose. Yeah. It was awful.
Oh my God.
And he would, he kind of flipped me over one night. I was standing there at the couch and I reached to get something and he kind of grabbed me and threw me over onto the couch and I landed on that shoulder. He would constantly do things to make that arm hurt, to intentionally hurt it. And it was really hard and I couldn't fight back, y'all. I couldn't fight back at this point. I had no use of this arm. He would try to flip the TVs and I would get between him and the TV. I'm like, please don't break the things that I paid for, He would spit in my face. He would pull my hair. He would hit me, smack me in the head.
Please note that we understand that the following audio may be a trigger for some. The following content may include emotional and physical abuse, harassment, discrimination, racial slurs, and inappropriate verbiage. Listener discretion is advised.
Because you have to get me medicine and help me while I've had surgery.
I'm done. Give me this. Take this.
You are being violent. Stop.
Take it. Take it.
You are being violent.
You're recording
Stop.
me. I'm not being violent. I haven't even
You are being violent.
Come on, take your pills.
Stop. I have
If this
one
is being
hand
recorded,
to
understand
use.
this will be the last day I talk to her. Here you go.
You are being violent. I have one hand.
One time
Thank
only.
you.
Can I have my phone back? One time
Not until
only.
you've
Can I have my
changed your
phone
behavior.
back? Excuse me?
Change your behavior.
Last time I talked to you. Okay. All right. Give me my shit like I'm a fucking slave.
You are being a jackass. You've used me as an ATM since last August. I don't want to hear it. I have to beg to get my medicine, and then you come in here being violent.
You know the other will get up every 3 hours to take care of you? You're a fucking idiot.
That's right. Keep calling me names. I haven't called you anything.
I'm not playing this fucking game. You're a slave. You're a bitch.
Really? You just threatened to hit me. I wish you were a man.
I said I wish you were a man. I didn't say I'd hit you.
Which means you want to hit me.
The night that he broke the door, which I think was the straw that broke the camel's back, he got the handgun. I have a conceal and carry weapons permit because I got that when I started dating and was doing the online dating because, Amber, you mentioned earlier, it's a whole different ballgame. Yes, it is. And so he got my pistol, and he went through the house screaming that he was going to break this MFer up. And I locked the bedroom door. My son was downstairs. My cell phone was in the other room. He and Athena, I sent you pictures of the door. He broke the door, broke the hinges, broke the door frame, trying to get to me, and I couldn't even call for help. He threatened afterwards that if I reported it when I went to work, or if I called the police, that he was going to threaten my job. I'm a school teacher. He said that he would put my weapon in my car and call in an anonymous tip that I had planned a school shooting. That is the first time I have revealed that to anyone other than my principal and my closest friends, because I don't want my parents at my school to panic if they see or hear any of this. The school has, he can't come to the school. They have his picture in the front office. If he were to show up, they would immediately call the police. But he threatened my career and I take school shootings so seriously and protecting my babies. And he threatened me with that. And I was afraid for my career because it pays my bills. And so I didn't report it.
Don't threaten my job.
Don't threaten mine.
You don't have anything to use against me.
Don't threaten mine, and I won't threaten yours.
You don't have anything to use against me.
I ain't got to use nothing against you. I just got to fucking make it happen. So, threaten my... Don't worry about me. Don't worry about me.
So he had gone to Wisconsin to interview for a job. And then, he flew out on Wednesday. He flew back on Thursday. My son, who is the police officer, they were coming here to spend the night, and they were going to sleep in our bed because they go sleep with their babies. They needed the king size bed. And we were going to sleep in the queen size bed in the guest room. And I told him, big boy, that morning, I said, big boy, Caleb will be here tonight. Before he left for Wisconsin. Caleb will be here Friday. That's what I actually told him. Caleb will be here Friday. And it's over. He's going to see that door, and it's over. So before he left for Wisconsin, he took the door off the hinges, moved it to a different room, the room across the hall, the guest room that we were going to sleep in, and nailed it up. He couldn't even align it where the door frame is broken because he thought that my son wouldn't see that. And then when I came home on September 20th, that afternoon, he was gone.
Next time on Ex-Wives Undercover.
He sent my son a scathing email saying that he left on the 20th because I threatened to blow his head off or blow his brains out if he didn't get a final deal and come home with money that afternoon. 2 weeks prior to my trip, he kept saying, I want you to go on this trip and I want you to have a really good time. I know now he had probably been planning this for more than a month. Going back through the bank account and just looking at some things, I'm like, oh, you canceled the car insurance while you were in Wisconsin. That doesn't even make sense. He knew at the end of September I would not have a paycheck. When the money ran out, so did he. First thing I did was call the cops. Got Melissa's number, and she said, I am so effing pissed. She said, it's time to put a stop to it. He does not know what he has unleashed. She's like, he woke me up and he has messed up.
And once again, if you like what you're hearing, please leave us a 5-star review and make sure to join our private Facebook group for even more juicy info. You can also find us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. And of course, you can always visit our site at www.exwivesundercover.com.